so far as I can see, that e-certificates will be provided by NAM CSSTC probably up to 2 weeks after the end of this. We are going to make sure that links will be viable for accessing the presentations. And I am keeping a track of all of your questions that you're typing into the chat. So we'll address those at the end. For now, I would like to keep to time and invite our next speaker, I've already introduced as Sarapi Yuadayong, the Managing Director of Chiwadi Products Company Limited, who is going to be talking about the marketing of coconut. I'd just like to mention before Sarapi starts that she has a background in microbiology, and it's important to acknowledge that this organization promotes small-scale, that's small and medium enterprises for cocoa flour products. And their vision is to offer consumer innovation for health from coconut products. And they're going to implement this via the coconut producers community. So thank you very much to Sarapi. The floor is now yours.
Hello, Sawadika, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening for all together that we are all here, and thanks very much. And I feel so touched with early presentation just a moment. I feel so happy that we are working for the same thing, that helping for the world a better place to live. And here is my site on the presentation. The next one, that's the slide is now shown. It is about the major producer of the coconut sugar, which has already been shown earlier. So altogether, we're talking about we're making 62,000 metric tons all over the world with a few countries as a producer. And there are queues of many countries, at least lining here more than 300 participants listening. That's what can we do together to make this a better place for the coconut sugar to be. So with this market research we have got on hand on the line, we can see that the growth demand is gigantic. It's everywhere that one thing. So now we don't talk about conventional way of having coconut sugar in our cuisine, but it's now shared with this goodness for other products around the world, which is on the beverage, for example, tea, coffee, and many more is now wanting the coconut sugar there. And for cosmetic, also very high demand for the soft mineral in the coconut to go with the cosmetic. And with this, because of the amazing nutrients that's in coconut sugar, we already know that's happening. Look at these pictures around the world. Everything is happening here in Southeast Asia as a hub for finding of coconut sugar. And now market, they are growing amazingly. Everywhere in the world would like to have the product, just like Jiwo. So now the player, you can see the player around the world. There are also some players, but actually there are not that many to come to join the business right now. So if you look here, most of them, they are actually trader and manufacturer and many more to come. But let's appreciate what's happening. We have this coconut sugar long before our time, our parents so long ago. And amazingly, if you see this one, and just now we're seeing also the pictures in the Philippines carrying the bucket of coconut sap. So this picture is more than 150 years back, where the king cooked the food with coconut sugar and shared with his family here to witness like how we inherit the sweetness that we love for over years. But however, if you compare back again, look at this. It is the same thing of before our time, much before our time, 8,000 BC. We see these people having a lot of labor input for finding the jiwo at the time, so-called cane sugar. The cane sugar has come into the world and originated from Papua New Guinea, which is about 8,000 BC. So in here, the crop spread out very quickly to other parts of the world. And suddenly, this is long before. Look at this pictures. It's yet look the same to an eye of labor intensive. So now we shift from cane sugar to coconut sugar. And the picture is originated from Southeast Asia. We are talking about the same thing, and it was fine until the time 2,500 years back. What was happening to this world? We were discovering the way to make this sugar very pure, and we called it refined sugar. And it tastes sweet, and it tastes like hooked, that everyone wanted to have this. Very, very high demand. So now it's just like current time of being. When people wanted so much, then everything we think about having it scale up, we talk about industrial agriculture at the time, how we can produce sugarcane as many as we want to, and how we can have this refined sugar for all over the world. With human being and our technology, we can make it. Everything human in this world, we are so good. We are so, tackle all the problem, and we can make it turn around. So afterward, now, it is something like we deserve from what is consequence of we discovered is that we talk about these non-communicable diseases that we kill 41 million people every year. Can you imagine the weapon and the diseases and COVID has killed us 1 million people? We felt so scary. We have today online webinar. This is a consequence of the disease that we think it is very big pandemic across the world. But in fact, what actually is bigger is cane sugar that has already killed people consistently throughout many years. 41 million people die. And do we take anything for granted? So everyone is now looking actually what actually happening, what we have done to the world. Nobody wanted to kill anyone, but however, why is happening? Because it's addiction. We loved it. It's unnecessary for us in life. Nobody wanted, but so we are slave to it because the taste of it. This is as well as tobacco. Tobacco has the same origin as health aspect, but later it become like killer. So as well as alcohol. So what are we going to do now? We are confused to this world, and we look at this, how we kill ourselves. Because we produce a lot of this cane sugar around the world. We feed the world sweet as much as we want to, and we all loved it. And if you look at donuts here at the screen, the donut cell is blue color that we see, but do you see white color? The white line color on top, it's that share as much as coconut sugar is now playing to the world. Now, the territory of coconut sugar to grow, it's many more to grow now. So how do we grow now? Look at these people. If we want to have the sweetness a part of our life, you learn from here, these pictures. We consume, and we consume a lot more than what we want. Here around the world, you can see people enjoy so much sweetness. People take the sweetness over more than what their body weight would like to have. And look at obesity, you can see in here, the picture, the little pictures on your right-hand side, it's showing the shape of human being right now. Can you imagine this is Southeast Asia? I don't compare other part, but I'll compare just originator of coconut itself. Look the way we look now. We want to look smart, but look at obesity rate that we have got here. It's not normal. It's something like globally we have to take care. And what actually make a difference in here? What the solution for the world would look for? Now, we come to the coconut sugar industry market. But is it actually, this word is correct? I would like to ask everyone in here. We talk about coconut sugar, but is this the sugar? Because we don't refine it. We take the wholeness from the nature. So this is actually the charm of it. And this is the lesson learned from the cane sugar, that the cane sugar has driven the global illness and diseases, and we are all suffering I bet any of us here, 300 live here, you have relative and cousin and the one you love being suffer from diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease. So we should stop that. So we should stop by changing us right now. And now it's not just like we look into one side, into producing coconut sugar, but we should look into behavioral change of the people as well to respect what are we going to talk right now in this floor. It's coconut sugar. But if you look here, people will ask why the color is different. We raise the question because it's very common. The reason is we are familiar with cane sugar or refined sugar. It has the same thing. When you look, it has white color and it has some square figures, bring that like very nice uniform and you loved it. But here, you looked into here, they look so totally different, but yet we call this one coconut sugar. And yes, as Erin had touched on, we are small players. We are community development. We make with love. We make from our hand with the lowest standard. And it is a very difficult challenge for ICC. How do we support? In which direction we should bring this out to the world? It's very important for us. The most important thing is the word balance. We need to get the balance. The balance is actually for us to understand when we have mass consumption for people, how can we educate them to have adequate consumption? Sugarcane was good in 17th century, and now people look into sugarcane as health risk. And now coconut sugar, we are emerging to the 21st century onwards. And for the next, we don't know, 100 years, 200 years, whether we become victim of the society as a health risk or not. But today, everyone standing here would like to have this for building healthy society together of the whole world. So we need to balance the sweetness that you don't need. But here, coconut sugar, it's not only the sweetness, but something else you need in your life. And you also crave for it. What actually the difference for the sweetness we have got in here? We have to understand the coconut sugar is actually having high electrolytes or mineral inside. How is the mineral taste like? You know, it tastes salty and then it has low glycemic index, amazingly. Then it has minimum process and contain lots of amino acid. So the difference is sweetness, taste, aroma, color, and everything. Now, if we start comparing inside this amino acid, what difference? So you can name it, you can put different amino acid and make analysis and give you the pattern. And then the pattern will bring you something which is driving the decision for the business is that the taste. The taste difference for the coconut sugar is happening because of type of amino acid inside that one. So glutamic acid will bring for you all these goodness in terms of the well-balanced or umami taste, whereas the sweetness is coming from this type of amino acid. And then if you look into this information we have got, it may not be adequate to compare. I would rather move to the next one. The next one is I put every amino acid as 100%. Out of that 100, then we look into what drives the taste in each one. The one made from Thailand is this one on your top left. It has umami at 73%, which is the highest level of the sweetness and bitterness. So Thailand would drive into well-rounded or a kind of delicious driver, whereas the Philippines is having sweetness more than Thai, and also the umami level is good. So Philippines is good for sweetness. And the other information I have got on hand, there are different amino acids that drive the bitterness. Perhaps the bitterness is not bitter when it's come to the sweetness. It's become like hook or kind of characteristic for that. So if we look into the mineral comparison, it looks like this. So I look into here, just only the rectangle. We can see the sodium content is down there, but it being double in Thailand, and potassium also. So it's more saltier in Thailand. But if you look into the little one down there, so the mineral also is different. So we can look and compare, and it won't be the same. Please do not expect. We have to understand the market. Look at this. Do you see anything same? Yes.
Sarapi, just to remind you, you have 5 minutes left. Thank you.
Yeah. So these are beautiful lady, but they are characteristic, and they have also themselves the way they looked. So we have to respect the taste of coconut sugar from each country. And the coconut sugar today, we can drive into different products. The product we have got can apply into different diversity of international cuisine and many more in terms of cooking with amino acids. We can bring that into the cooking for Thai taste, and we can go for the sweetness like this. Or now we can go to this almond milk, or we can make it with the vinegar. We can ferment it into a kind of cider drink. And this drink will come to England soon, Vincent. You can have taste of it.
Excellent.
Yeah, so it's coconut beer, but sorry, for women. So it has alcohol of 1 or 2%. It will be amazing, and it will be, you know, nice for the market. And if somebody is in America, please welcome also the new American product. Also many more for the skin product coming up. Coconut sugar become irresistible for every business right now. And the next one for the sugar development, we have fermented sugar into vinegar, because the sugar is rich every nutrient, so it's fermented by itself. So it's no doubt that it can produce into vinegar too. And we have just recently tested under clinical test with Mahidol University, and we found like ourselves, it has also increased metabolic rate and also increased the muscular mass and help you sleep well. Shivadi has developed with community and has grown into a small and medium enterprise with many international awards. And then we can see like there is nothing for us to stop us, but I would like to work together with all of you to complete with sugarcane in terms of the better living for everyone in the world. So we can see like we are here sitting, but however the demand is just landslide, we cannot supply it. But however, changing one crop of coconut would take 3 to 7 years for yield the better one. So why don't we work together for competing with the high demand? Because if you wait for too long, people cannot wait. People, they are hot-minded. They would like something to help for their life. And if we are too slow, who will help them? They will change. They will change to other things available. Date sugar coming up already, Tanot sugar coming, other sugars coming, other non-nutritive sweetness also coming. So unless if we work together, and how, I would request this for to look into this sap productivity within this earth. What tree having the highest productivity? Please help to get that one planted all over across the world, so that it helps the farmer to yield better, so they have the better living. Or the dwarf tree that you don't have to climb up with risk. And also we are challenging ourselves with technology on harvesting job. What else in the world that we can help each other? I would support that, to get this sustainable business to be together and to bring also this affordable investment. And please look, do not fall into the grab that we will fail to refine the coconut sugar. We should not. We should educate the whole world and accept this is adequate. The organic direction is the one that we should drive for. And it is ICC to support us to grow around the world. So I think my time has come up, and that's it, the demand and supply for the coconut sugar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah P., for that very rich and engaging presentation. I'm sure that delegates and the two hosts will be back in touch with you again about how we can develop links in these different kinds of value chains. So the next, well, just before we go on to the next speaker, I have been taking account of all of your questions, and we will address them in the discussion section at the end. I think lots of you are still asking about whether you can get the presentation, and we will be able to access the presentations after this training session. So now I would like to go on to our third speaker today, Dr. Anantara Marakrishnan, as I said before, the director of the Indian Institute of Food Processing Technology in the Ministry of Food Processing Industries. India, of course, is, like Thailand and Philippines, a very important global player in the production and supply chains for coconut. So thank you very much, Dr. Anand. Over to you.
Thank you so much, and really it's wonderful for ICC to invite me and Norm also. And today I'm going to speak like a bridge between the earlier two speakers. One is from the production, another one is from the market, and another one, if you look at back end, is the raw material supply. Without raw material supply, we can't produce, and we need to understand what is the market demand. According to that, we plan the whole processing line. That is the important to sustainability of this industry. Coconut sugar production industry itself is the micro food processing industry. It is not like a very well versed, and it is not a totally mechanized, and it's a more laborious, intensive industry. How to make this the more viable industry and gives the more benefit to the both consumers as well as who are involved, the stakeholders in the whole industry supply chain. That's what next 20 minutes I'm planning to give the small presentation. And before going to that, small introduction to all the audience today. And Indian Institute of Food Processing Technology is situated in southern India, and we have the two centers at Gauhati and Punjab, and we have all the departments of food engineering to the biotechnology and academic and all the staffs. And IFPT started the Mission Coconut program to convert more value-added product from the coconut. If you look at the single coconut tree per year, it yields 1,500 rupees per tree. It is a very, very low. That's what we thought we need to make more value-added products. So we converted copra making from the hybrid solar dryer, integrated coconut processing unit we developed, and different packaging solutions, coconut spread, and all things, including the Nira. Nira, we worked a very extensive, Nira is called coconut sap, and we worked a very extensive work in the Nira in IFPT. I'm going to speak about a little bit on that. And just now the market you have seen, and food industry market demand continuously is changing, because every year we need a new model mobile phone. Now people are going beyond that. Often they wanted to change the food habit, and they want to enjoy when they eat the food. So that's what that market, like customization. They want customized food into their plate. They want only particular amount of the energy, protein, fiber, and nutrition. That what is the nutrition composition? There's a personalized nutrition they want. Like for me, some nutrition, for others, some nutrition. Is it possible to make it from 3D food printing with a different composition of the coconut oil or Nira sugar? That's what people are going beyond normal conventional food processing. Novel product range and value. Like for example, we developed that coconut oil with the butterfly biscuit. It has all the element with whatever the shape we want, we can produce it. And convenient and taste. During this COVID time, our ready-to-eat products are gone beyond 150 times spike in the market. So like ready-to-eat product always has the good demand in the market, and how to capitalize, and ethical food choice. This is the new things is coming into the market scenario. I am follow all the regulations of the government of whatever the country, but what I'm eating is the products not only for the safe and nutritious, and how the manner it is produced. They should not have any child labor. They have to follow all the fair trade and low carbon footprint. If such companies, in recent studies shown, like out of 10 people, 4 people prefer to go and buy such type of ethical food brand choice and brand trust. So under this climatic change, how our coconut sugar will play the role. If you look at in India, India is the oldest coconut crops in India, and it's the third largest production in the world. And most of the coconuts produced in the southern portion of in India, mainly Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and Karnataka, and it yields 80 nuts per year per tree. And these are the products are already developed, and some products in the pipeline. And for example, coconut water, tender coconut powder, desiccated powders, coconut oil, all these products already available. For one example, coconut chips is slowly is become, and coconut is become a superfoods nowadays. And because of its a medium chain fatty acid, is good for health. And if you add curcumin into the coconut chips, definitely it will add advantage to that. That's what people are looking. What is the additional we can add into that? For example, coconut cream or the coconut based sweets, can we add coconut sugar into that? That's what we are going to see, that coconut sap sugar. And look at already our previous speakers talked extensive on that. It is, yes, it is a low GI and high minerals, like 18 times higher minerals and 30 times. And it has the good amount of amino acids and vitamins. So how to market this one? That is the what key element here, and how to claim this one. Because any claim, we are talking a lot about the diabetic, and only low GI itself is enough to claim this diabetic food, or we need to see that. If we add the coconut sugar in the food matrix, how it is behaves in the systemic circulation when it goes for our human study. So we need a lot of scientific data record when our claim is to come to the play. And look at the global trends in the coconut sugar production. Only Europe alone, you can look at huge amount of the import of this coconut sugar is continuously increasing from 2014 to 18. And major producer, we know that Philippines and Indonesia, Thailand, 80% of the production comes from there. And continuously demand is increasing in New Zealand, South Africa, Australia, and other countries. But we need to identify which is the segment we are going to give. Yes, we can take it a coconut sugar as for the tea or coffee or whatever the beverages we can add. This is the one side of the segment. And but we need to look other segment like a bakery industry. It's a huge market in the bakery industry. How to convert this one to that? That's one thing we need to look. And apart from that, if you look at 2018, it is the 630 million business to become is going to be predicted 1.7 billion. But main problem in the market, it's fourfold increase in the market. But look at the rate fluctuation, 40% rate fluctuation in the coconut sugar market. That is the big concern on this industry, because we need to make it a maximum 10% is fine. 40% rate fluctuation, that's what uncertainty in the supply line. So that we need to look very closely that how to check that on. And second thing is 80% comes from the Asia Pacific region. And the earlier speaker also mentioned about very few players are major players in this field. We need more players, then we can have a lot of competition and we'll get the lot of quality product into that in the market segment. And GI, people are talked, and glucose is 100. That pure glucose, GI, glycemic index, how much load is after we have taken the glucose in the blood, how much is the comparative with the glucose, and taken the 100 is a full. And if you take it, the moderate is the 70. High is above 70, moderate is 56 to 69, low is 55. And coconut sugar, lower range is the 35, higher range is of 55. It is a really good candidate, good USP to claim alternative sugar and sweetener. And apart from this, we have the other minerals and other things. If you look at most of the countries, the taxation has been introduced. If you have the higher amount of the calories come from the sugar, it's a taxation, double taxation and claims. And these things, how to make it coconut sugar as the alternative. So we need a health claim. So how much? Suppose, for example, if we add this sugar into any of the product, the product color is changing because of the browning takes place during the heating process, bilateral reaction. That brown color is coming. This is changing the product color. We can't add the plain product. So this is the one issue we need to address when we wanted to go for the alternative to sugar. And apart from that, that validation, for example, IFPT, we have the human digestive system. There we can add and we can study how much it is observed, how much glycemic load and glycemic indexes comes to the intestine, and how it is from oral and stomach and intestine. This whole mapping we can do, that how this sugar is behaved in the human system. Such type of scientific document will get this claim easily, it will reach out. What I said as earlier, that only one segment, if you look at a biscuit, we can sell directly to coconut sugar. But if you add into the another product, for example, Europe is import biscuit 3.7 billion. India export to Europe only 1.2 million worth of the biscuits only. That is just merely 0.003%. Even if you take the 5% we wanted to export, that means 183 millions as the additional revenue will get. Out of this, if you occupy even 3% of that coconut sugar comes, that's the big boost for this industry. That's what we need to look. The mass business where it comes. One is mainly for the bakery industry, especially biscuit industry, where we use a lot of amount of the sugar. So that part, if you add into that, that color should not change, taste should not change. During the processing, people wanted the same taste, everything same, but alternative sugar. That substitute, if you wanted to make, we need to add a lot of R&D into that. Otherwise, it's very difficult to reach out such a fine product into the market. And collection is another problem. If you look at Neera tapping, and just now the first video you have seen, people are going to the tree and collecting. And such type of tree is fine height is very, very less. And India, it is going for more than 15 meters height. For that, climbers are required. They ask 250 rupees for the almost 20 trees they wanted to climb. That means the cost of that labor cost is very much increasing, and 2 times they have to climb and come down. So how to make mechanized manner of collection? Because if we are not making the mechanized manner of the collection here, so production rate we can't upgrade or we can't upscale it. For example, IFPT, we developed the one system that collected from the tubing line, we can collect from the bottom of the tree, and again you need to climb, you have to cut. This problem we wanted to solve. We thought of to make a tapping machine. We have done something, but we are unable to make it a very effective manner. Still under development. Maybe soon we will complete this one, because the blade what we use continuously, because once the sap is coming is a sugary solution, that blade sharpness is not able to do that, and residue we need to take out. That's what we made that solar here, and the tapping machine has been fixed above the tree. There is sap is here, and collection is comes from the tube, and we can collect bottom of the tree. This is what our idea. We tried some prototype, it works well, but some extent we have failed to collect continuous tapping. So that we are working up. Very soon we are going to come up with the proper solution for this. But this is the issue what I wanted to bring. This is the major issue what I understand. When the tree height is too high, we need to proper one. And second thing is, when make it a closed cycle like this, so we don't need to worry about the fermentation problem, because this should not be exposed too much to the air. And we have done some coconut water collection filter system. This can be kept. This is a 50 liters per hour collection system. This can be used in the any of the farms level, and this it collect, and chilling unit is there that can be go around 4-degree temperature. Such a case, if you collect the coconuts directly pumped to here, and we have the chilling unit and cold storage, and it stores for close to 5 days. Because the Neera problem is that after 3 hours it start fermenting. So we need to check on your bricks as well as the pH. And for that we need automation. So after collection, directly we pump to this such a system. So this automatically monitor your pH and bricks. Then we can take into the for processing. So such type of system need to develop in the farm gate as well as the large scale industry. That's what we are working. But this system has the UV treated sample also. UV treated sample also is included in this chamber. And we have done one more study, and Neera powder problem is Neera powder or Neera sugar is the very high hygroscopic. It's sticky nature. It's form hygroscopic nature, and polymorphism takes place. So how to avoid? So we created the crystallization of the Neera. So you can see the very clear crystals, and this is the no chemical at all, and be able to create the crystal form of the sugar. Solubility is very high and long shelf life, very free flowing powder. So this type of studies definitely will help to enhance the marketability of Neera. And what is the market perspectives if this type of inputs are there? One is, we know that diabetic population increase, and demand for the alternative sugar because of the regulation is coming, and very less or no usage of the chemicals, and preference towards the plant-based food is continuously increasing throughout the globe. And challenges in the coconut sugar supply chain, one is the raw material availability. What we are finding out, each tree in India, it's sealed around 1.5 to 2 liters per day, and that type of amount of the input, it's very make it in the like comparable with the sugar can, because this is the raw material itself that much, then you convert into the sugar how much we are getting. And quality, it changes. Even single tree itself, after some time quality changes because the climatic changes. Summer output is different, winter output is different, so that we need to understand. And price, you see, already I mentioned about price, 40% fluctuation, this is too high. And policy, for the government policies and this type of things, for example in India, even our Tamil Nadu, just 2 years back only government allowed to tape Nira, because some of issues are there in the policy level. Government is not clearly open up such industries. And consistency in the product quality, that we need to check in the either particle size and the moisture content, load of the microbial load, and resilient supply chain post COVID. Definitely this is the one we need to think. If sudden stoppage of all the transport and other things, how to use, and we can't expand the cold chain to such a level, so we need to have the clear things. And digitalization and ICT application has to be implemented in such things, because we need to map which is the variety and which is the tree yields more and how long we yield, all the things we need to map it. And every time it has to be fed in the system, so we can have the clarity on the how much input we are getting from each tree, and when it is going low, and how to supply chain we can manage that one. And if you look at the critical consideration of the whole supply chain management of the NIRA, is the mainly for coconut sap collections and labor. These two things we need to be a very critical point this industry. This is the 2 point. One is the labor. Alternative, we need to make the total mechanization of the tapping and processing. Second thing, supply of coconut sap, we need to have the total digitalization. Then we have the clarity on that, how much we can get now, and after 6 months each tree how much yields the yield, and after next year how we are going to do that type of things we need to map. And innovative processing technology, because this industry still we are not evolved the total mechanization, and more innovative mechanized, and even vacuum distillation will help, or rotary vacuum distillation, or any other distillation mechanisms can be used for the processing of the NIRA sugar. Such type of input has to come into this industry. And apart from that, how to label this product, is it nutraceutical or functional food? If it is both the things, how to claim.
Dr. Anand, you have 5 minutes left. Thank you. Just to remind you.
To market and consumer, the quality standard is important, because each country has a different standards, and still some of the countries not come up with the exclusive standard for the coconut sugar. That is the important. And like ICC and other agencies and other people, we need to work together to make this the uniform standard for throughout the globe, all the countries coconut sugar standard we need to brought up. That means we need a more scientific data to bring that. And even NIRA, we need a regulations on each country. And branding and marketing, we need to be a very clarity on that, how we wanted to brand NIRA sugar and how we are going to market. If you look at the whole scenario of where food processing industry is going on, only market driven foods. Now if you look at the post COVID situation, people wanted all healthy foods, immune boosting foods, and low calories foods. Definitely NIRA sugar or coconut sugar definitely play the major role. Traceability and supply chain, this is the what I'm telling, from the raw material collection to the end. We need to digitalization, and we need to have the blockchain mechanisms to trace where is the contamination takes place. If fermentation takes place one place, which point, which cold chain breaks. So such data managing is important, and that's what virtual marketing play the major role. You have seen that beer from this one, from the for UK just now, madam shown, but how micro enterprises get such type of access market. So we can create the virtual market, one can enter it. If that packaging of this powder coconut sugar, what is the outside color, people how they love to see that there. So all the things we can create virtual marketing, and we can bring such type of support for our micro food processor and food for soul. People are earlier used to take food for energy and nutrition. Now people wanted to take the food for enjoyment. And coconut sugar can give such a supplement. We need to think and how to brand that one, and minimal processing, non-thermal processing. See, this is the heat processing we are involved, but a lot of vitamins, minerals we are claiming. And what happened to applying that such type of above 100-degree heating to this type of vitamins, and such type of scientific document we need to be shown. And yes, how much non-thermal processing can be ideal or not, we need to see that, and advanced quality testing and analysis needed. And finally, coconut sugar sustainability strategy. This industry wanted to sustainable means we need to see that raw material collection system from the tapping to the storage. We need a clear system to be developed, and it has to be totally robust to see that pH and breaks and microbial load, everything has to be monitored. That type of system has to be developed. More R&D as required, because here and there people have developed, and we need to see that which is the one is better. We need to take and make sure, and we need to guide our farmers and small enterprise. This will be the better system. And novel product range, people are going beyond that. So how we can use this coconut sugar into different product and packaging. Main problem here, water vapor transmitter. Most of the packaging of the sugar, coconut sugar, after some time, it's become a sticky nature. How to avoid water vapor transmitted from outside to inside and inside to outside, and we need to go for beyond that normal packaging. We can go for the nano packaging. That can be a layer by layer packaging. Sometime we need to see that what type of packaging is solution is required for our coconut sugar, and branding and marketing is the more important to make this in the more viable process, and more role into women, livelihood transformation, and local farmers. Definitely what the first presentation has shown, this help local farmers and local enterprises, especially women enterprises. And definitely if you make these things, raw material collection system to the new R&D and new product and new market space, definitely this is going to be play a major role that will give a lot of incomes and support for our farmers. Definitely this will make whole Southeast countries who are growing the coconut, they will get a lot of benefit out of this initiation by the ICC. Once again, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anand. Before we go into the final discussion session, which now we have around about just less than half an hour to wrap up, to keep on time, I would just like to add that we want to take a photograph of all of the delegates. When instructed by our colleagues in ICC, perhaps you will be able to then turn on your video cameras so that we can take a photograph of the virtual attendees. I think now I've been keeping track of the questions that people have been asking, and so I'm going to invite the panelists to address the questions in order. So starting off, first of all, I would like to point out that delegates from Saudi Arabia are very complimentary and saying that they're going to start manufacturing coconut sugar soon. So that's an interesting market. We have some questions about how economical will this be compared to, that is coconut sugar production, compared with conventional sugar or jaggery. Perhaps I can ask Erlene and then Dr. Anand to comment, comparing it with conventional sugar production and jaggery, please, Erlene.
Actually, we have already compared the production of cocoa sugar with brown sugar cane. I don't know, we don't have jaggery here in the Philippines, but comparing with the sugar cane, actually it is more laborious, but in terms of benefit, we can have an increase in income compared with what we compared is from copra, but not with the sugarcane production. We don't have data on that, but in the copra processing, we had a comparison, but in terms of nutritive value, it has an advantage. But in terms of production, no idea comparing with jaggery.
Before I invite Dr. Anand to comment on jaggery, I seem to remember, Erlene, that I think it was in your presentation, you mentioned something like a 20% return on investment. And I imagine that even the conventional cane sugar producers would be delighted to have that kind of return. Could you comment on that, please, before I invite Dr. Anand?
Okay, the 20% IRR, internal rate of return, is based on the production from the coconut sap and based on the investment of a community-based processing. That is only what we did, and it was really a very high increase in terms of income when you engage in the coconut sap sugar processing. So that is how we computed in the cost and return analysis. But we did not include there the cost of the land and of course the cost of the trees, because we just consider the direct sap production, but not the cost of the trees that wherein we are collecting. We just use a simple cost benefit analysis.
Thank you. Perhaps then, Dr. Anand, have you some comments to make on comparisons with jaggery? And then perhaps finally, I'll invite Sarapi.
Yeah, jaggery, actually, that is the process is entirely different. But here, our coconut sugar problem is that the raw material cost itself too high, because the production rate is so low per tree. It gives like a maximum 2 liters. So that's what it is increased. The input cost is high. Automatically, you will get the final product cost will be going to be high. But the main processing almost similar. But only thing, the input processing cost is increasing. Automatically, final product cost will be high. But comparatively, yes, jaggery will be the low.
But if you have higher input costs from the coconut sap, surely you can command a higher premium price than jaggery, for example, or sugar for that matter. Yes?
Yes, that's obviously that. But we have a other benefit of this one, because what we are getting here amino acids and minerals and the GI value, it is the very much lower than some like a GI is low and other things are very high minerals. So we can go for the premium cost. So we can't compare directly that the benefit. That's what we need to caption this as the functional food. We should not go for the like a sugar.
Indeed, we're not really comparing like with like, because cane sugar is not really a functional food. It's just an energy source. Okay,
Vincent,
I think, yes.
Vincent, if I may add, I agree with Dr. Anand, because our consideration here is not to have a comparison with the common sugar or the ordinary sugar. What we have actually, we have plants here in the Philippines that we cannot call it as sugar, but as a natural sweetener, which is wherein we will compare this with the synthetic sweetener used by diabetics. As what he mentioned, it should be a functional food rather than an ordinary or a sugar itself. So maybe what we can recommend is to have a renaming of the coconut sap sugar into a coconut sap sweetener.
Yes, that sounds like an interesting concept for further discussion. Can we invite Sarapi? Have you any comments to make on the comparisons of with conventional sugar or other products?
I support and I'm very agree with both speakers, Dr. Anand and Erlene. That's I also put into my presentation that this is not sugar. It should be sweetener or some other word, because we are not consuming sweetness. We are consuming balancedness of amino acid that required for human body as well as mineral. So, and we don't know. People know what we say today, but what we don't know, why it comes together as a wholeness. Our duty is to trust the nature, and we take without any condition, take the wholeness of it into our body. I think in this way, what I'm talking about is meaning organic. So organic direction is the one that we should go for coconut sugar. And I see very much in this fall, and I love very much in this fall that give me opportunity to say to the world what is actually development mean for us, and what actually we want to live in this world. We would live with this world a better place than the past 40 years or 100 years that has passed because we didn't know. Now we know, and we learn enough to go for the next level. We should not distinguish between differences. We should not put the question too much. We should salute and respect what is given by nature. Coconut is tree of life. It's coming together on earth after dinosaur, and it has been protected, human being. So ourselves is just to serve the world, to understand and respect. And what we respect also is a family of people. I like Dr. Anand, that he touched on the difficult in life of people that consumer don't see. Can you climb up that 15 meter high? Do we do something on this earth? Can you tolerate that? Can we come together? Can we have this mechanism happening for the farmer not to suffer? For the India, don't have the input to the factory that high. Can we have everything mechanized and for the better place in terms of respecting the nature? Highways need to be changed. After 100 years, we cannot look the same the way we do things. In Thailand, we attempt to change it, but to work alone is difficult. And I would like to work together with you all to help the world and the farmer better income, better way, and more respect. And we offer better health for everyone with the coconut.
Thank you.
Sweetness.
Thank you very much, Sarah P., for that inspiring message. I'm going to move on to another comment that was made by Surya about the health benefits, knowing that raw coconut is also very healthy. I think probably we can move, you asked about that question, and I think some of it was answered in the presentations and in this discussion. So in the interest of time, we're going to move on to the next question, which is about the possibility of small scale level manufacturing. Can we briefly, perhaps I'll invite Dr. Anand, small scale manufacturing for SMEs. Could you comment on that? And then Erlene.
Yes, sir. That's what even I have shown on picture, that coconut water collection system. The same thing can be used extensive. That's a collection. Then the processing line we can show. That's for 50 liters capacity. So that's for stored for normally 4 to 5 days. We can store the sap into that system. So we need to go for the heating unit and other things. Already we are working on it, including the whole processing line we are trying to develop in our institute itself. It can be housed in the small, like who has the like a 500 to 1000 trees are there we can house it. So definitely we need to do a lot in the small machinery, sir.
Sorry, you said again, it could be housed in what kind of place?
So we can keep it like where the minimum 500 to 1000 trees are there. There itself we can use it. Maximum of like 500 liters per hour capacity processing line. So we can operate at the small level, the processing line. For example, maximum 1 ton production per day. Sugar production, such type of units can be developed, can be housed in the wherever that farmers producers organization, they can operate like that. We are already working on that line, sir.
In that case, we will be, I think, discussing this idea of small scale production with you later. There's another question here about the production, the production of regular sugar requires using a few harmful chemicals. Will the manufacture of this sugar be free from that? Erlene, perhaps I can invite you first. Harmful chemicals. Maybe.
Unmute.
Are you saying something about chemical?
Yes, the question is that regular sugar requires the use of sometimes a few harmful chemicals. Does the manufacture of coconut sugar also, or is it free from all of that?
In my country, I don't know in other countries, but actually, as what I have presented, that the sugar that we have here is preservative free and no chemical, no addition at all. Don't use anything as far as the cocoa syrup sugar is concerned. It's all natural. So the reason why I emphasize that after the sap collection, it has to be boiled immediately. That's why we have a scheme here that we have small units of the producer, and then they prepare it right there in the farm. And then after that, they deliver to a common facility, shared facility of coconut farmers, of which Philippine Coconut Authority assisted in that kind of technology, because we cannot afford to use chemicals as far as processing of cocoa syrup sugar is concerned. It's a no.
Indeed, yes. Do you have anything to add to either of the other two speakers?
Yeah, only thing is my side is like if you're going for immediate processing, we no need. But sometimes they wanted to store the sap, means very few people are using the anti-fermenting agent, AFS. So sometimes they may use such a agent, means some chemicals may come in, but that's depends on the regulations, how much allowed to use anti-fermenting agent and then solutions, then they're going to process it. But in principally, it's a free of any chemicals.
Thank you. Sarah P., have you anything to add?
In terms of chemical, actually for the processing, there is no need for chemical at all. But so what I have observed in my experience is that harvest is more dangerous than processing, because harvest is the way to start fermentation. So if we are not act as fast, it will turn sour and you cannot make sugar. And here, Thailand, the amino acid is higher, so the rate of fermentation is faster. So we have to be very immediately. So there is not many people willing to do the harvesting job. And for the lower grade of product, unavoided, they have to put some chemical in, for example, some preservative, some of the sulfur dioxide, and very unwanted pesticide for killing some bees. That's happening for lower market. But so what I have been doing for my company is we educate people that you don't need. For the higher market that we pay for you, so we pay for you not to take care of other people's risk. So we see that one, and we've been educating, and I can see changes is happening. So I'm more focusing for this business on harvest rather than processing, because processing is simple and straightforward. Community can do. In particular, this sugar in terms of dry powder, so it's locked by itself with safety, because you have removed all the water, so there is no more adulteration for the microbial as much. But we have to put understanding into a product that we think about. From Thailand, because we are prone for fermentations, I would rather support people to make the syrup, because it's easier in terms of texture, and you keep the characteristic of the flavor that get hooked, also the color being lighter. But to make the sugar as powder, you really have to understand Indonesia and Philippines, they are actually the right country to go for that. They have more mineral, they're more volcanic effect. So that by nature of the coconut sap itself, it's easier for them to make powder.
Thank you. The next question is about waste production. Is there any waste production or effluent generation? I'll start with you, perhaps, Dr. Anand.
I don't think so, sir. No waste. It is totally evaporating the water, and remaining things is stays as it is. And only before that we'll do the filtration. That time we need to see because some micron size filtration we need to do that. There's some microbes we can remove it. So apart from that, not much waste generated.
Thank you. Arlene?
In the processing in the Philippines, actually, we have recommended, as far as PCA is concerned, that utilization of possible effluents, considering that there are times that you are not able to collect on time. So it is already acidic. So what we are doing, we will be producing, out of that, we are producing cocoa syrup if it's lower than 6 the pH is lower than 6, and it is still lower than 5 or 4, then we are using that for lambanog, our vodka, the local vodka in the Philippines. And if it is still already very sour, then we are using that for the production of the vinegar. That's why the one that I presented in the video, she has a lot of products coming from the sap. So as far as effluent is concerned, I think this cocoa sap sugar processing is the most economical and most enterprising and a lucrative business because there are no waste at all. You can utilize everything. If you happen not to be able to collect on time, you can still produce other products. That's the beauty of cocoa sap sugar processing.
Okay, we'll move on to the next question now. Very quickly, because of time, I'm going to just invite one speaker to answer because there are several questions, and then others can chip in if there's something that's really important. So the next question is, any storage problems associated with coconut sugar? Maybe I'll invite Sirip. Thank you. If we don't have time to answer your questions by the end of this session, we will supply the answers later. So yes, Sarapi, perhaps you could answer the question, are there any storage problems?
Over the storage, we are forcing nutrients to be together, and these are so rich. We talk about fine amino acid and also this sugar. And so if for food technology, everyone in the world learned, you put sugar together with amino for a long time, it will cause Maillard reaction. This Maillard reaction start changing the color to brownish, which is natural changes for nutrients that come together. That is not spoiled because it's controlled by water activity. So you can see the coconut sugar being darker throughout the time. But the color itself from the starting from the Philippines and Indonesia is already red color because of this effect on mineral of iron and copper is more than Thailand. But through the time, the darkening will happen for every sugar in the world because we are so nutrients rich for that. So we need to understand and educate people around the world like changes is normal.
Thank you, thank you. I'm going to carry on down the, one very important point is the glycemic acid index. It's further down. Perhaps Dr. Anand, you can answer this. Perhaps you compare the glycemic, you had a slide on it anyways. Is it, can you highlight the importance of the glycemic acid index?
Yeah, this what
compared with sugar or honey.
Yeah, that's what white sugar glycemic index is. They comes around 60 to 70, even some sugar goes even 80. But here comes starts from the around 35 to 50 range. Our depends on the where we are getting the fructose and sucrose concentrations. And this is the important and the load also. Someone has asked about this coconut sugar load is glycemic load is 3 and white sugar load is 6. So it's a fairly we can claim is a low GI food, low GI product. So, but my concern is this GI along with the other matrix we need to study. That type of studies need to be done. But fairly we can say it's a very low as per the norms. It's a below 55. It's a low GI product. Load also glycemic load also is a 50% of white sugar.
Yes. Are there any clinical studies that we can draw from?
Some studies are there, but we don't have the clarity on that type of full-fledged studies on the total our sugar. But I'm not sure about that. Maybe other panel members can comment.
Arlene, very quickly before we move on to the next question.
Okay, regarding the glycemic index, actually, that's the reason why it became popular in the Philippines because of the findings of Food and Nutrition Research Institute. They conducted a study on that and they found out that this cocoa sugar, being an invert sugar, has a very low glycemic index. And it's because there is an enzyme that is responsible for the conversion of the cocoa sugar into a very low glycemic index is because of the enzyme invertase in the sap of the coconut.
Is that study available?
The studies, yeah, we have. Actually, in the Philippines and other countries like Indonesia, they are referring to our studies made by the Department of Science and Technology, the Food and Nutrition Research Institute. We have a study on that.
Thank
I
you.
have some addition also study for the glycemic index for Thai sugar also. That's as we understand, we cannot expect the same number happening like exactly the same for every country. If you put into this practice of clinical, we did, and we found like our coconut powder, coconut paste, and coconut syrup, it has variation from 40 to 45. That is, we found the number for Thai sugar. So if we look into this number, they are not significantly different, and they are under 55. So it is the same as low glycemic index.
Yeah.
So when I put the presentation of the beautiful lady face, remember that?
Yes.
It's exactly that we are comparing like to like. So it depends on what people will contribute itself characteristic, but they are all the same. Like what difference between Vincent looked and also Erlene and Anand, we look all different, but we are human beings, right? So the glycemic index also, they are a little bit different here and there because of the collection, because of natural changes of nutrients that is dropping in terms of glycemic index down to 35. Or if this start digestion a little bit by microbial, so glycemic index go up a little bit. So its variation really doesn't matter. It altogether wholeness of coconut sugar has low glycemic index. So we have to put back again, do we trust the nature? We do. If we do,
Yes.
we follow.
Yes, I think there's another question here about, where are we? Just a minute. Is it possible to crystallize white sweetener from coconut sugar? I think I'll invite Dr. Anand to answer that, as you touched on it briefly.
Yes, we have done it, and it is coming not exactly white, little bit brownish white it has come, and it's a very fine, it is a free flowing, and we could able to crystallize the form, and we could able to succeed, and we got the patent as well. And now we are working with the large scale production. We have done with the bass scale. Now we are working in the very large scale production of the sugar crystals. And definitely that will help to solve most of the problems of the later storage problems, like mainly the browning, that Maillard reaction, all these things will be cut off when we convert the crystalline form of this sugar.
And just one other linked question is about the shelf life of coconut sugar compared with white sugar. Dr. Anand.
Yeah, shelf life is the problem, is only what our madam has said, like browning is continuously happening, then moisture uptake takes place. That is become a very sticky nature after some time. Even after 3 months itself, it starts like a problem is starting. That's what we need. I touched one more thing also. We need to go for that layered packaging or nano, like a clay, include nano composite packaging to remove the water vapor transmitted from both the sides, so we can reduce that one. Some people have tried the vacuum packing also, but it is not helping much. But we need to work on the packaging to increase the shelf life, to avoid the moisture intake inside the pack.
Thank you. There's another question here from Sandia Tristiani about what type of stove for heating the syrup, for the syrup. Erlene.
Okay. For the syrup, we can just use ordinary fuel. But when you already have the syrup and you are already making the granulation, we are transferring it to at least a liquefied gas, so that we have control of the heat. Because actually, the key in the processing is the control of the temperature and how you are controlling the fuel. In the boiling, you can use any stove, but in the granulation of the syrup into the sugar, then you really need a controlled flame. That's why we are using LPG, the liquefied gas. By the way, I just want to add that we were able to also produce white sugar. The only problem in the white sugar is most of the sugar that we can make out is out of the aromatic variety. The Thailand variety wherein it has very high sugar content, we can make white sugar out of that. And also controlling the temperature, you can make a white sugar. And you have to store in cold storage so that the change of color, at least you can control for a longer period. But as what Dr. Anand said, the storage of the white sugar is shorter than the brown sugar because it will become brownish later on.
Thank you. We're running out of time. We only have another 5 minutes left. But there are a couple of other questions. There was one about which kind of varieties are best for coconut sugar. Is there a varietal difference?
Yeah.
Yes, Arlene.
Okay. As far as varieties are concerned, yes, it's true. Just like the virgin coconut oil, the lauric acid content. Because what we found out here, because we did a study on what are the varieties, and it's good to note that there are hybrids, and of course the equatorial green dwarf has a higher sap production, and it is good for cocoa sap sugar production in terms of volume of sap. But in terms of cocoa sap, the sugar content, the aromatic variety is the best as far as production of sugar is concerned, because the conversion is at least 7 liters is to 1 kilo, whereas the other varieties, you have to have 9 liters, 8 to 9 liters to produce 1 kilo of sugar.
So what was that again? 7 kilos, 7 liters, 7 kilos, 1 liter?
So no, 7 liters is to 1 kilo of sugar if you will be using the aromatic variety.
Yeah.
And then if you are using the hybrids and the other varieties, you can collect at least 2 to 3 liters per tree per day in terms of volume of the sap. Then you will be have a higher volume of sugar to produce, but the conversion is higher. 8 liters to 9 liters is to 1 kilo of sugar. So it depends whether it will be the sap that you will be considering or it should be the sugar content. So
okay, those are the two elements.
Yeah.
And how often can one extract sap from a particular plant? Erlene, as we've got you, carry on, please.
Okay. How many times we can extract? Actually, once in the Philippines, what we are doing, unlike other countries, we are extracting 4 times a day. And we are collecting 4 times a day. In other areas wherein they want to produce more, they are extracting whole day and whole night. So there are people who are extracting every 5 hours, so 5 times a day. They are extracting from the coconut flower.
Okay, so maybe quickly we'll ask Sarapi about the collection frequency. Sarapi.
In Thailand, we are collecting normally 2 times a day, but for some particular specification for customers, we also have to collect 3 times a day.
Okay, and what about India, quickly?
Yeah, in India, twice a day, morning and evening, they collect normally. Extraction is morning before sun, like 6 o'clock, and evening again 6 o'clock. They used to do that.
Thank you. Just another point is about the fermentation and being, this is for Erlene really, sap collected in an open container, as we saw in your video, and we can see the fires. Does it get fermented in an open container?
As far as our experience is concerned, no, actually, the fermentation is not a problem. And also, we tried to cover before, but the problem is once you cover the container in the collection, the production of sap is lower. And sometimes it's not giving the sap when you are enclosing the container. Well, what I mean is the collection vessel directly from the inflorescence. We couldn't cover that because it will not give sap if you will be totally covering the collection vessel.
Okay, India and then Thailand. India, Dr. Anand, about collection cover?
Yeah, collection is normally closed container. We used to do that, and we have some technologies developed by our ICR institution, and even IFPT. We have another technology like a cold chain. Only they used to. It's a closed container, along with the icebox technology. They used to do that. But after that, they transmitted from that.
And Erlene, sorry, not Erlene, Sarapi from Thailand, quickly.
I think we have experienced the same as Erlene. So it needs ventilation. So think about this, it's become like confined space and you cannot breathe. Coconut also is a living tree, so it cannot breathe. So it feel like very, suffocated. So it cannot give the sap. So we have to understand the water needs to flow. So you have to let it flow down. So that's the way it is. It's about understanding what's happening and then we get the nutrients in.
Thank you. Another question quickly. At what stage or age of coconut plants can the sap be collected? Erlene.
What stage of the plant? Once
Yes.
it has a flower, then we can already collect the sap because that is coming from the inflorescence. So once it's already flowering, that's the start.
Yes, I think that's... Quickly, India, anything to add?
After 5 years, normally that almost 5 flower comes means they will consider 3 for the coconut, other 2 they will keep it for the sap collection. That's what they follow in India, but most of the time after 5 years.
Okay, and any difference in Thailand?
Very different. We start harvested once it has the first flower, and it's about 2.8 years or 3 years, usually.
Yeah, right. So then I think we're almost out of time now. I would like to ask other questions, but I'll just remind you of what the questions are, and then we can... there's a thing about the price. How is coconut sugar production from the Philippines different from that of other countries? Because how come coconut sugar from other countries, the selling price is only half that in what you mentioned in the Philippines? Very quickly, Erlene.
Okay, the price in Philippines is really high. That was why we are not price competitive because of the high labor cost. And we know that cocoa sugar processing is just labor intensive. So as far as we are concerned, especially in areas wherein we have high coconuts, then it will really have a high, but we are selling at 200 to 300 pesos per kilo of the cocoa sugar.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
I'd like to add,
Yes.
from Erlene also, I have the same of the opinion that we pay for labor. And as she has stated, sometimes you have diluted from 9 to 1 kilogram, and each step is very tedious, and you pay for labor. So I would consider myself, the coconut from Philippines is very cheap.
Yes. Thanks very much. So I think I'm just scrolling down the questions now before we wrap up. Is there a way that we can do any kind of machine to lower the glycemic index? Is there any way that we can, this is for Dr. Anand.
Yeah, that is pure sugar we can't do, but we can mix with the matrix. For example, if we add this coconut sugar with the biscuit manufacturing, when we try to do that, there if we add the fiber and the other matrix to release glucose into our stomach slowly, such type of like a designer product, if you make, we can lower further down the GI. But as it is not possible. But when you make the new product, then we need to see that other matrix, how we can stop that release of the glucose or fructose from this matrix to our system.
Okay, I think we're going to have to end it now. I would like to make a few summary comments, and it's also important for you to fill out the assessment for the training. The link has been typed into the chat. If you give us your feedback, we can improve the training in the future, and also it's more, you'll get your e-certificate apparently once you've filled out the form. So please bear that in mind. I'm just looking at some other messages. We need to wrap up now. So I would like to thank, on behalf of the hosts, the three speakers, Lean, Dr. Anand, and Sarapi, for their interesting presentation. We've learned a lot about different things and the needs for mechanization, the opportunities for women's role in this mechanism, that we've learned also that there are very different scenarios in the three countries that we've been covering. The constraints or the challenges have included raw material supply, the need for policies to support the consistency in terms of product quality, the idea of getting a more resilient value chain, and it's important that we integrate technology and information technology into the systems. So I think rather than summarizing more now, I'm going to invite our colleague from ICC, the Assistant Director, Dr. Mridula Kotakate, to provide some final remarks, and then perhaps we can take the photograph. Mridula, over to you.
Thank you, Vincent, for the wonderful moderation. And now I just want to do some closing remarks. Respected His Excellency Ambassador Roni Yuliantoro, Director NAM CSSTC, Madam Delfina, Executive Director ICC, the national liaison officers from the member countries and representatives from the ICC and NAM center countries, our resource speakers, moderator, and my dear participants from the Cocknet friends and stakeholders across the globe. First, I would like to express my sincere and heartfelt compliments on behalf of ICC and the participants to His Excellency Ambassador Yuliantoro for sharing his encouraging and motivating words. Thank you, sir. Your encouragement and vision towards the sustainable development of the coconut sector and the development of small and marginal farmers could make this program in implementation and action. Secondly, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Madam Delfina, the Executive Director of ICC, whose leadership, commitment, and encouragement towards the welfare of the community could help to organize and arrange such training program. Thank you, Madam, for all your support and guidance. Today, we could hear the presentation from three of our renowned speakers from three of the major coconut growing countries, that is India, Philippines, and Thailand, who were very experienced in their respective field of their work. First, I would like to take this opportunity to express my heartfelt thanks on behalf of ICC and the participants to Ms. Erlin C. Manohar, the Deputy Administrator from Research and Development Branch Office, Philippines Coconut Authority, who very precisely presented the processing technique of coconut sugar, supported with the wonderful video. Thank you, Ms. Erlin. There is no word to express our second speaker, Ms. Sarapi, the Managing Director of Chivadi Products, Thailand, who is a self-made entrepreneur in the field of coconut sugar. She runs her own company and providing employment to many needies. She focusing the market potential of coconut sugar. And thank you, Ms. Sarapi, for accepting the invitation of ICC and sharing your experience and motivating the participants. I think your encouragement can help the small and marginal farmers to set up such small unit in respective countries. Our third speaker, Dr. C. Ananta Ramakrishnan, Director, Indian Institute of Food Processing Technology, Tanjavur, Tamil Nadu, India. He is having a vast experience in the food engineering and processing. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation to present here in this training from your busy schedule and providing valuable information to the participants on sustainable supply chain of raw materials for coconut sugar production, food industry. I think the IFT can help to bridge the gap between the farmers and the stakeholders And as rightly you pointed out that we can work together in this sector so that the sustainable development of this sector could be more fruitful and encouraging. Many sincere thanks to our beloved participants from across the globe who are actively participating and interacting, without whom this training could not be a success. ICC assured that the training materials would be shared with all the registered participants of the training. The trainees are welcome if they would like to contact the speakers for any of their queries in future too. I take this opportunity to express my thanks to Mr. Vincent, the interim Cogent coordinator, who acted as a moderator and always there besides ICC to support in all our program. Thank you, Vincent. My acknowledgement appreciation to Ms. Niken, Assistant Director, and her team from members of NAM Center and the dedicated members of ICC Secretariat for all their support and assistance to make this training a grand success. Once again, I thank you all. Stay safe and healthy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mridula. Before we take the photograph, I'll perhaps ask Ali to do that and wrap up finally. There is a comment from Jesus about following up with a second webinar on the challenges, the specific challenges facing coconut sugar production. Jesus, we will look at that and discuss it and get back to the community of practice. Ali, can we organize the photo now, please? And everybody, please, can you turn on your video cameras?
Yes, Vincent, but before we take our group picture, we will invite for participant from Fijian Embassy to join us in the panelist room. Just a moment.
Yes, yes, indeed. I understand that there were, at the height of the meeting, 330 or so delegates. Currently, there are 239 online, or 238. So yes, people are all joining now. While we're waiting, and for those of you who are still listening, please remember that the next webinar on the 3rd of November will be on good agricultural practice and integrated pest management in coconut systems. And we will look into this idea of a second webinar on the challenges to coconut sugar production of this important market.
Okay, I think that's all. Please turn on your video before we taking the group picture. There's Mr.
Yes.
Actanelli.
Everybody make sure your video's on, otherwise we'll just get your name or your logo.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody, for your attention, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
No doubt.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Keep safe.
NAM CSS team and all the participants. Thank you for the invaluable information shared.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye.
Terima kasih, Bu Jelvina.
Terima kasih, Pak Ambassador.
Miss Erlin, thank you.
Thank you, Ali.
Lynn, thank you, Sarapi, thank you. Dr. Anand,
Abdullah,
thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Keep safe always. Keep safe, all of you.
Yes.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah.
Oke.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.